Hi guys, it's Chella-D, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you guys... Attends, on va recommencer parce que ça va pas là. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Chella-D and in this video, I'm going to show you how I turned my curtains into a bucket head. Yes, you heard this right. So I basically had these old curtains that I had for a long time. Just old curtains that I didn't use at all. I don't know if you can see, but I'll probably insert another... Yeah, pardon. I'll probably insert another clip, but it's like just a brownish curtain with details. And I really actually liked these details and I wanted it at the front of the bucket hat. So I basically turned that into this. So this is the bucket hat. Let's get into this video. I'm going to show you how I did all that. All that, you can give me all that, all that, all that. So this fabric is interesting because the inside and the outside both have a different look. And I wanted to use both looks for the front and the back of the bucket hat to be able to choose which one I want to wear. These are the patterns I'm using. I found them online and you can find them in the description box. These are actually bucket hats for kids, so if you're an adult, I'd recommend using the largest size or just measuring your head to be sure. After cutting the patterns and assembling them, this is what you should be left over with. Make sure that this forms a square so that you have one beautiful piece. Okay, let's start cutting the fabric. So I want this to be in the center of the fabric, so I'm just making sure it sits where I want it to. After cutting all your fabric, make sure to make little cuts around these triangles. These are going to be very helpful for later. You can find them on all the patterns, just make sure that the cuts are not longer than 1 centimeter. When you're done cutting the fabric, this is what you should have. This is the top, the front and the back. And these are the brims, so you have 4 pieces, 2 for the top outside and 2 for the insides. Alright, so we're gonna start with the tube that makes the bucket hat. Make sure both of the outsides of the fabric are laying on top of each other so that we can sew the sides with 1 seam allowance. For this project, I'm just using black thread. If you're a beginner, I'd recommend pinning the fabrics together to make sure it doesn't slide when you sew it. Before doing the following step, you have the option to flat iron open the seam. That's not English. Whatever, you know what I mean. Now on to assembling the top part. Now we're going to sew the top part of the bucket hat to the tube that's around our head. So you place a circle inside the tube and you pin it down. This is where the little cuts that we've made in the beginning come in handy. They help you know where the fabric should lay. If your fabric frays a lot like mine does, I'd recommend using an overlock to secure that or just the zigzag stitch on the regular machine. When you sew and you pin down the top part, make sure that the seam is open. After you turn it inside out, this is what it should look like. At this point you might want to do your decorative stitches, it will be easier for later, so I'm just going to sew down the side so that it ends right into the seam with the brim. I'm going to start from the bottom and just go all around the bucket hat. For the decorative stitch, I'm using white thread. Make sure you put the foot against or next to the seam so that you have a parallel white stitch. Don't worry too much if your lines aren't as straight as the guy you're in love with that turned out to be gay. Just remember that this is a unique bucket hat that you're making, no one's gonna have it, and it's okay if it has a few crooked lines. It's time to make the brim. Don't look at the thread in my hair, please. Hopefully by now you know the drill. Put the right sides facing each other and you sew 1 centimeter of seam allowance. When that's done, lay it flat on the table with the seam open, option to iron it down, and also option to zigzag the ends to make sure they don't fray. Right sides facing each other, we're going to pin those down. Make sure to use the little cuts if you made them, this will help you. This is me being a bad example and sewing over the pins. When you're done, turn it inside out. By the way, this is so satisfying when you sew and all the lines follow each other. I mean, picobello! So here you want to press down the fabric and iron it. It is now time to assemble everything. Now that our two parts are ready, it is time to sew them together. What you can do first is do your decorative stitches if you want some, and then sew the brim to the top part. I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to sew together the outside of the brim with the top of the bucket hat, do my decorative stitches, and then fold the inside brim like so that I can have a nice finish. We are almost done!
Oh my god.
This is the inside, a bit ugly, but it's fine. We're gonna hide that later. Now we're going to go in with our decorative stitches. Here you'll need to use the width of the foot to have an equal amount of space in between each lines. When you're done with the decorative stitches, make sure you leave the last one. Do not sew it. For this part, you're going to need to make little cuts along the edge. That will help expand the fabric because it's going to be very tight around that area. So you're going to pull down the seam allowance from the inside and bring back up the fabric from the outside brim, fold that in half, and you're just gonna cover everything, and the last decorative stitch will be what holds everything together.
Great! It's not sewing and the thread went away!
This is what it's supposed to look like when you're done. Now here, there's a part that didn't get sewed in, so you gotta be careful and make sure that everything is inside. I might just go with the thread and just finish that off by hand. But guys, that's it! We done! Now it's time for the reveal, even though you've already seen it. That's it.
That's it now. That's it. This is what the end result is like. That's it.
So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one, I guess. Hopefully it's another DIY. Bye!